Shio Nagata. Hello everyone. My name is Tanya Carroll and I'm here with Tara McCoy and Hope Husky. Together we plan and organize the Kananesgi Art Market and Fashion Show each year in Cherokee, North Carolina. We are all three enrolled members of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. We want to thank you for tuning in to view the 2020 Kananesgi Virtual Art Market. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, we are unable to hold our annual in-person art market, but instead of canceling, we decided to switch to a virtual art market instead.
Kananesgi is the Cherokee word for spider. We chose to name our art market after the spider because in our culture the spider represents creativity. Artists in general are creative, so we thought it was a perfect fit for the event name.
The artists price their work themselves and will get 100% of the proceeds sold. We do charge a shipping fee that is calculated by weight. All of the artwork for sale can be viewed and purchased from our website, kananesgi.com. So be sure to check out our website and support Native American artists. Shki, thank you.
Shio Nagata, welcome to the 2020 Kananesgi Art Market. We're here with Marva Welch, Cherokee artist. We're going to turn it over to her, let her share a little bit of her art with us.
Ashinale, Anashkrishi. My name is Marva Welch. I am from originally the Wolfe community, and I'm the daughter of Isaac and Judy Welch. And growing up, it was always, we didn't have TV, and we didn't even have power when we were growing up, so we had to play outside. And my mother was always a crafty person, and she always told a lot of stories about how life used to be whenever she was growing up. And so during this pandemic time, a lot more reflection has gone back in the past. And I love to tell stories. I love to tell stories and share that with students across the state here. And so that kind of inspired me here. But also, I'm a 2013 Legacy Rider with the Trail of Tears, or the RTR. And so that was another big inspiration, too, was to help share some of our past to understand, who we are today. And a lot of that has come through our stories. So I call my line the storyteller line. And so if you want to, we can go ahead and get started.
Highlight a piece for us.
Okay. Well, this one right here is called The Origin of Stickball. It is said that we learned the origin of the stickball from the animals, from the birds and the land animals. So this pictures some of the birds, the turtles, the land animals, and I don't know if you can tell it or not, but this is supposed to be a blue racer.
All right.
He's kind of like the, what do you call it? He's more like the, oh my gosh, what do you call him? Not the runner. What do you call him?
Sprinter?
No, the one that switches you if you do something wrong.
Oh, yeah, the driver.
The driver, yes. So the blue racer, I don't know, do you know what a blue racer is?
Mm-mm.
A blue racer is known to be in the mountains, and they'll chase you, and they'll switch you with their tail.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So, but that's one of the stories here, the origin of the stickball that's created by the animals. The second one here, I'll call it the basket makers. I just can't believe how some of the basket makers, like Lottie Stamper, and several of them come up with the designs they came up with. This one's got the peace pipe design, and the other designs of it are the ladder to their steps to the Creator.
Tell us about this piece right here.
Okay. This is called Waylon Hummingbird. And I bet you've seen a lot of those this summer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I done this in the spirit of my granddaughter that didn't have a chance to be here on this earth. So I give that to her. And here's the woodpecker. Now all these have stories behind them. So this is one of the reasons I call it the storyline, the storyteller's designs. The woodpecker. In Cherokee, there was a lady that she didn't have any children. And so she protected the trees. She pruned them, and she picked the fruit off, and she kept the children from climbing in them. And so it said that whenever she they were getting disruptive and everything, she would climb up in the tree or turn into the woodpecker to make sure the tree was protected.
Marvel, thank you so much for sharing your art with us. Thank you for sharing what inspires you. And it's been a pleasure taking the time with you. We're going to take this time to take a little closer look at your art, and then we're going to come in with the next artist.
Okay.
Welcome back to the 2020 Kananesgi Art Market. We're here with our next artist. I'll turn it over to her, let her introduce herself and the art she's here to share today.
Shio. Dagwado Nashi Dadishti Ani Gadua. Hello, my name is Nancy Pheasant. I'm an enrolled member of the Eastern Band of the Cherokee Indians. I live in the Wolfetown community here on the Qualla boundary. I am known for my shell carvings. My passion is as a shell carver, and I was first introduced to shell carving probably more than 10 years ago. We had a very well-known shell carver by the name of Dan Townsend come to Cherokee and teach a small group of us. Dan is Creek on his father's side and Cherokee on his mother's side. And he continues to encourage me to hone my skills and teaches me the historical and the cultural significance of shell carving itself. It's interesting because shell carving is considered one of the dying arts to the Cherokee people. It actually dates back to over 15,000 years. We have a lot of pieces that are found in a lot of the museums from artifacts that were found in the mounds. So I do a lot of work where I'm using those artifacts and take pieces and designs from the artifacts and actually do replicas of a lot of museum pieces. And I've also tried to introduce more modern day pieces as well. So I have 3 pieces that I want to show today, and I'll have even more that's available in the Kananesgi Virtual Air Market. So definitely check us out. But the 3 pieces that I have today, the first piece is this chess piece, and it depicts the Uktana and his assassination attempt of the sun. You can find this, it's actually done as a myth in James Mooney's book. So you can see the Uktana, and then this depicts the sun. It's on braided leather cording with peach-colored tile beads, and it's a sliding knot for the necklace itself. This piece I do have priced. It's around $260. So if you're interested in this piece, definitely check the air market out for this. This is called the Uktana and the Sun. The next piece I'm going to talk about is this piece. This is the 3 ravens. This is also representative of our Big Cove community. This is a commissioned piece where the lady came to me and she said, can you actually depict this for me? And that's why it's representative of the Big Cove community. And you can see the 3 ravens in a circle in the very center of this medallion. This is on cotton cording with a lobster claw clasp and tile peach-colored beads with the silver beads to accent. This piece I have priced at $65. The last piece that I want to talk about is the chunky player. And if you visit our museum here in Cherokee, North Carolina, they do have other pieces within the museum that depict the chunky game itself. This is a game that was played many, many years ago. It's just recently started being brought back into the communities as an active game again. But this is also a replica piece of an artifact that was found in one of the mounds around here. So this is an authentic Cherokee replica of a museum piece. This is called the Chunky Player. It's also a gorget or a medallion. It's on black cotton cording with wood beads and silver rondelles. This one I think I have priced. It's priced at $150. Those are my 3 pieces that I wanted to show today.
Great.
So,
And Nancy, we want to thank you for coming in today and showcasing some of your artwork and sharing about your story. Let's take this time. We're going to take a little bit closer look at Nancy's work, and we'll welcome our next artist in.
thank you.
For nearly 75 years, Quala Arts and Crafts has served our community not only as a craft shop, but as an organization dedicated to the preservation and promotion of authentic Cherokee arts and crafts. As the oldest Native American cooperative in the United States, we strive to bring our visitors quality handmade wares. Quala Arts and Crafts thanks you for your years of patronage and invites you to visit us to purchase guaranteed, authentically created, handmade Cherokee arts and crafts.
Hello, my name is Tyra Maney, and I'm here with our next artist, Dylan Morgan.
Shio, Nagada, Dalani, Dagwado. Hello, my name is Dylan Morgan. I am 26 years old. I live in the Wolfetown community, and I am a new and up-and-coming river cane basket maker. I've been slowly working on my baskets for right around 4 years now. I mean, almost 5, but roughly about the first year and a half, I got took out to the cane patch, and I slowly just was introduced into how the process worked, where they traveled to gather the cane, and the different types of cane to look for while I was gathering it. And I really enjoyed that process the whole entire way to actually thoroughly learn it from A to Z. The main 2 people that really helped me learn my craft and figure it out was, the first one was Gabe Crow. He's one of my very best friends. You know, I've been friends with him for a while, and little by little he slowly just started to show me little things into basket making. I would be watching him, asking him, how do you make your baskets, man? That looks pretty wild, you know, I don't think I could ever do that. And then one day he slowly just gave me the knife, told me to sit down with him, and just start working some cane. So I've got to learn majority of my craft from Gabe, and then the next person that I had big inspiration from was Lucille Lossie. I had a really fun time sitting down and learning with her, and especially learning the more traditional ways. And, you know, she has definitely all the experience, and that's definitely a good woman to sit down and learn from. So these up here are going to be some of my different types of river cane baskets that I've been making here recently. I've been focusing a lot on single weave baskets. And then single weave baskets are simply just a single layered wall, and they typically involve different multiple colors and patterns. And so I've been working on these river cane baskets mainly for the patterns. I really enjoy the different types of styles and baskets that you can get out of the river cane. And also coming through with the colorings, I'll also use the different types of dyes going throughout these different types of baskets. So I'm going to have to go out and gather most of these dyes whenever I go to dye my splints. So like a lot of the brown that you see in most of these baskets we use from the walnut tree. And we also have the black colored splints. We have another tree around here, it's called a butternut tree. They're the same exact thing as a walnut tree, but they give you just more of a black, dark color whenever you dye those splints. A lot of the other colors that you see in most of my baskets, like the bright orange or the really dark red orange, is a material that we call bloodroot. So we have to go out and find those along creeks and riverbanks, and usually gathering about a gallon of dye per each dye session. And so that's definitely a time-consuming process on my end on these single weave baskets. And like I said, I've really spent more of my time learning these single weaves. I do sell a lot of these baskets, and some of these single weave baskets, they will probably be running anywhere from $150 to $200. They will be listed on the site as well. And then I also have been learning how to do double weave baskets. This has been one of my major goals in basket making so far, is to learn how to do a double weave. Because typically you don't see that many people really picking up double weaves too much anymore. They're turning into white oak baskets or just simple single weave baskets. So getting to have the time and the experience learning from Gabe and Lucille to go through and learn these double weave baskets, like I said, I've enjoyed that tremendously. And the difference in between a lot of these double weave baskets versus those single weave baskets is there's just simply just 2 layers on the inside of this basket. So when starting on the bottom of these baskets, we start simply at the base. We weave the base all the way down, and then we round the corners. Once we finally round those corners up, we just weave this pattern all the way up till we hit the top of the rim. And then it's taking those splints and simply turning them backwards and rolling the splints over and bringing that pattern all the way back down on the bottom half and tucking them in. And I really enjoyed learning to make these baskets simply just because they was a more of a sacred basket. You didn't see double weaves a lot, and if they were, they was simply to keep a lot of your higher up higher regard goods in a lot of these. And so I have these double weave baskets for sale as well. They typically run anywhere from right around $250 to about $300. That really just give or take depends on the size of these baskets and also the different types of colors in these baskets here.
Can you explain some of the pieces that you have here?
So some of these pieces that you see up here, these are going to be your different style handles that we have and that we make. So we also make our handles out of white oak. And I've had a really good fun process of learning from a man named Charlie Welch. I've got this set for him for about 2 to 3 years. And he's slowly showed me how to work on these handles. That man works a little bit too quick for me to still pick it up. And so we're making these handles, and I like using a lot of these handles, and these are going to be one of my bigger inspirations as well, is because I still make a lot of these, no-handle baskets. And I have really been wanting to aspire into learning how to make baskets with some of these different style handles in them. Mm-hmm. So like this handle right here is called an interlocking handle, and simply all it is we take this handle, carve it out, and we curve it down at the bottom. Down in the bottom half, they simply carve out a flat tab and a flat square tab that goes right through the middle. They lay it back flat, and then simply once this handle is dried, and this handle simply would not come apart. So I even thought that was a pretty interesting idea and a pretty neat way to come up with a new invention for a basket, to be able to put in here. And so those are going to be your single or your like I said, your interlocking handles, and then these right here are going to be called more of your drop handles. So I like these right here just because they gave your basket to me a little bit more decorative look to them. And a little bit more style. But simply all they were was simply just carved off with white oak handles as well, just like the first one. Carved off with little bitty hooks on the side. And then as you have those hooks, what you're simply going to do is slide right down in the top rim of this basket, and it's going to lock in place. And then from there on out, I would just rim the top half of that basket, and then I could very easily have these handles held in place.
Well, thank you for talking with us, Dylan. And we're going to get a closer look at some of the pieces on the table while we go to our next artist.
Hello, my name is Faith Long, and here we have Jarrett Wildcat. He's going to show us and tell us about his artwork.
My name is Jarrett Wildcat. I am from the Wolfetown community, and today I'm about to share with you some of my artwork. What I do basically is called warp twining, and it's probably one of the oldest forms of weaving on this side of the world. You see, what I'm using today is hemp. Using hemp, it's sustainable. There's a lot of misconceptions about hemp. Most people think it's the kind that contains THC, which it's not. We've been growing hemp for, Lord knows only how long exactly. But the use of it goes back to at least 9,000 years. So you're looking at the archaic era. So what I'm doing here today, simply I'm just kind of trying to express to you like what it is I do here. So instead of doing weaving, I'm either doing wood carving or I might be doing pottery or just whatever else I'm doing. But this has been my main focus for the past, let's say, about 3 years. I started doing this back in 2017. I started working at the museum in 2016, took a basic class, learned the very basics of it, and all I did was just doing the tight weave all the way down, but that took forever. So eventually I asked my teacher, is there a faster way to do this? So then she said, well, I'm having another class in the following, I think it was spring. So she said, I'll bring you by something to look at. We'll see what we can do with it. But what happened was I started adding different colors to it. So as you see here, I've got red, I've got yellow, like you see here. And I was told by, I don't know if you know him or not, Joshua Adams. He's actually the school's wood carving teacher at Cherokee Central Schools. And he told me, whether it be a wood carving, whether it be a painting, a weaving, whatever, name it. Because that gives it more credibility. That gives it more, how do you put it, mystique on it or something. So this one, I called it Anagilishki, or I'll call it Neon Lightning. This is names I came up with actually this morning, so I just kind of went with it. But this one, this is actually a more familiar pattern of natives throughout the southeast as well as the Great Lakes region. Yeah. This is actually called the underwater panther. So it's a design that's been borrowed from the Great Lakes region. And I figured, well, the history behind it, from what I've heard, is it's a creature that's able to travel between different worlds. So in our belief system, and I may get, criticized for this or whatever, but because there's a lot of people that are in the Christian world and have their way of belief, which is totally cool. You know, it's whatever, it's fine. But from what I've been told, there are 3 different worlds, similar to the Christian world. The center, which is called Gadua, Ayehli. Above us, Galongadi, above. Eladi, below. So from what I've been told, this creature was able to travel between 2 different worlds, being the underworld and possibly being this world. And as for the red one, the first one I showed, I didn't know what to call it. I looked at it, I made 2 sides to it.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Thank you. So I was actually watching The Hobbit this past weekend. I watched the 3rd one, Battle of the 5 Armies. And I always liked the name of the location they were fighting for. Thor was called. He was called King of Under the Mountain. So I called it Under the Mountain. Why not? It's got mountain designs on it, one on top of the other, similar to our mountains here.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. But that's basically what I'm doing. I mean, it's been my main focus for a few years now, so for me, I like it because I don't get cut from it, as opposed to wood carving or basket weaving. This is what I enjoy doing, and I feel like it's therapeutic. But did you have any questions?
I don't think so. I just want to thank you for coming and thank everyone for watching. And we're just going to take a closer look at your art while we get ready for the next artist. So thank you.
All right. Pleasure.
If your idea of a vacation destination is browsing the most exquisite Cherokee arts and crafts, we are your destination. For the past 30 years, Bear Meats Indian has offered local, handcrafted items, from wood and stone carvings to baskets and traditional pottery. For a cultural adventure, you will find us in the Wolfetown community on Soko Mountain. If you are unable to explore our exceptional supply of authentic items in person, you can visit us online at www.bearmeatsindianden.com.
Welcome back. We're here with our next Cherokee artist, Waylon Long. Waylon, introduce yourself and some of your art brought with us today.
Hello, I'm Waylon Long. I live in the Baco community. I'm a third generation basket maker. I've never got a chance to see my grandma make baskets, but I've seen her work and seen all it could do. I've helped out with my father a lot. We done a lot of classes, and I picked it up because it was interesting. It's an interesting trade to learn. I've been doing this for a little over 10 years. I picked it up just so that way I could be able to learn stuff from our elders to pass on down to our younger ones. I've started out with doing the process from the beginning to the end. I've learned a lot of different designs, and in fact, I've came up with one myself. I do this for the reason to carry on a cultural tradition and just to let the younger generations get a chance to try something like this. I have taught a lot of classes with it, and with that, I've had help from my younger siblings to come help me too.
You want to highlight some of your pieces you brought today?
I brought 3 pieces today. The first one is one that's got the older version of the noonday sun, and some's got other names for these, but it's outlined with the Stairway to Heaven design with the noonday sun in the middle. The colors on this one is black walnut and a little bit of butternut. My second piece is made out of the same stuff. It's made out of just butternut and walnut. This one's got the Indian arc with the side has a field of crosses on the side of it on the border. Now my third one has multiple designs in it, and it has our peace pipe, and it also has one of the versions of the water spider. There are 2 different versions of this, and this is the one that my father come up with. But this one also has the diamonds, a couple peace pipes, and then as a centerpiece, the water spider.
Great. Awesome. Well, Waylon, thank you for sharing your art with us today, sharing with us about how you got inspired to start doing this form of art, and it was a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
We're here with our next Cherokee artist, Letitia George. Letitia, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you introduce yourself and some of your art.
Shio Nagada. My name is Letitia George. I am an enrolled member of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. I do beadwork and photography. I started doing beadwork at an early age of 9. My mother taught me how to do beadwork in different forms of loom work, corn bead necklaces, and bracelets. As time has passed, I have learned how to do other types of stitches, such as peyote stitches, spiral rope necklaces, and learning how to bead around different shapes of earrings, which I learned from another beader. I enjoy making loom work to go on hair combs, which aren't done a whole lot, along with beaded hair barrettes. I have always enjoyed beading. It helps me relax and reminds me of my mom, who taught me her traditional artwork. I enjoy doing peyote stitches, which is 1 bead at a time. With this pattern, you can make rope necklaces, which are very time consuming since it's 1 bead at a time. Using this pattern, you can bead around earrings and other items such as pencils and a dowel stick. Loom work is sometimes used to make powwow outfits, hat bands, belts, and many other items. Everyone has their own way of beading, and some designs are similar, but there are those who add a unique technique to separate their beading from other beaders. Currently, I am enrolled in a photography school called the New York Institute of Photography Online Studies. I started attending the Institute back in April 2019. Once I complete all 6 units required of the online classes, I will receive a certificate of completion, which I am very excited about. Photography has always been a passion of mine. I didn't know how to use a digital camera. So when I went to classes held at Southwestern Community College in Sylva, North Carolina, by taking the introductory course on digital cameras, I learned a lot about what makes digital cameras work. I didn't have an expensive camera. It was a digital Canon Rebel that I learned about manual, ISOs, f-stop, shutter speeds, and so much more that involves making your picture turn out to be what you want it to be. My most favorite photography is going to Water Rock Knob or Cleanman's Dome to watch the sunsets and capture the sun going down. And many times after the sun has disappeared completely, the sky is very vibrant in colors, priceless moments to enjoy and even have a picnic if you get there early enough. I also enjoy capturing waterfalls and wildlife. And I am learning how to do portraits of people. There is so much involved with taking pictures of people. It's challenging for me. I will get there in time.
Awesome. Thank you, Letitia. You brought some amazing pieces with you today. Do
Yes.
you want to share some of those with us?
Yes. About 3 years ago, me and a friend of mine that I do the online class with, we had went up to the parkway and we was just out spending time together, and in a field there was this little elk, and I call him looking so seriously because that's what he seems to be saying to me. Seriously, are you taking my picture again? Is what's probably going through his mind. So I enjoy it, and he's just a real common person around here. Many of them are, but I don't get close enough to them. I have a lens that enables me to get closer to them without having to get right up on them. Of course, I don't want to be like some people and get butted and stuff. So, anyhow, all a sense of humor. You just got to know that, your distance and everything on this. So that's how I captured him using a long lens.
Right.
The next one is a diamond-shaped necklace, and on this one I use 2 needles with this to make the top row as I go, and I use a separate needle to make the diamond shapes down at the bottom and come back up. So, and I make different colors of these all the time. They're a little time consuming, but I enjoy making these. Even though it uses 2 needles, I think there's a way to use one, but I'll always do things the hard way.
Very nice. Well, thank you very much for sharing. You have some beautiful pieces here. We're going to take a few moments to take a closer look at some of your work, and then we're going to bring in our next artist. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Shio Uwodahi, hello beautiful. We cannot wait to welcome you to Indigenous Boutique and Spa. We are a native, women-owned business located in the Great Smoky Centers of Sanuk's Village. We feature a variety of skincare and personal care services, including facials, brow shaping, henna, and tinting. Our boutique features a number of inspired Indigenous products and high-quality apparel, bath and body accessories, soaps, lotions, serums, and scents. Visit us online at indigenousboutiquespa.com to shop our online store or to book your appointment. Or give us a call at 828-788-6687.
name is Faith Long, and today we're here with Antonio Grant, and he's going to tell us about his artwork.
Hello there. I'm from Cherokee, North Carolina, the Eastern Band, and I'm also belong to two other tribes, the Sioux tribe and the Navajo tribe. And what I'm going to be doing here is explaining a little bit about my artwork. My media is a silver and wampum and turquoise. This is what I do for a living. As far as I know, there's only two active silversmiths that does it for a living. Is my father and myself. And it has taken me around the world, just about. Knowing all the different cultures and different things that I've seen with other tribes, then that made me think about my tribes, of the history, the creation stories. So I incorporate a lot of my stuff of the creation stories. Like this one, for instance, here. It's just like a spider, but it's made out of silver and turquoise. And what it means to me is called Ama Anishi. This is the one that brought fire to the Cherokee people. So as you can see here, this is all fabricated with silver. Then I learned about wampum. Wampum was used up and down the East Coast, from Florida all the way to Canada and parts of the Midwest. Many tribes used it as peace, friendship, and alliances in the form of two beads like this. And they made belts. And those belts were used for friendship, alliances, and walking belts. Many assorted different things that these belts were used for. Hence that, like, if I was a native person that belonged to another tribe, and we were always fighting with this other tribe, so a belt was made because it was time to have peace with them. So this belt was made with this tribe, but then we might have another belt made with this tribe, and another belt with this tribe, or something. Sometimes maybe even your own clans, different clans would have our own belts. There's no wrong stories about wampum, or how the belts were made and what they were for. It was documented in Williamsburg, Virginia, at the colonial Williamsburg, the council house, when they had different tribes come into them and talk to the colonials. What they would have wampum belts hanging from the walls and hanging from the rafters. And that signifies, that they dealt with the colonials, many different tribes. And unfortunately, it caught on fire and all those wampum belts were lost. So wampum belt was used all through here. In 1762, Cherokee chiefs went to England, and there they exchanged the wampum belt with the King of England for alliances or such a friendship. But it has a rich history behind it, the wampum. So I incorporate a lot of my artwork with wampum. I learned my silversmithing skills from my father and mother. Ever since I was small, I seen them do it. So I seen them how they shape the stones, how they buff it, how they cut the stones and everything, how they make the ring shanks. So every once in a while I might help out with them when I was younger. So then when the day came, I already knew how to do all of this. I just remembered when I was a kid, when my father was the first silversmith in the early 80s. He learned it from my mother's people, the Navajos, from my mother's brother, sisters, and he brought it back over here, and he was the first silversmith at that time that does the turquoise and things like this. They started out with $100, and they bought silver and turquoise, and they began to do their craft, their artwork together. He still does it for a living today. And we've learned more about turquoise, the value of turquoise. Some of its rarity, and there'll be very expensive turquoise. But this is some of my artwork that I do. The wampum. Even to this coin bracelets, many tribes use this coin. in different assortments. The Indians down south in Florida, they would put them on necklaces. The Indians up in Canada, they would put them on their clothes. The natives over there in New Mexico or in Arizona, Utah, they would put them on their shirts as the Navajos would do. So coin wasn't just really valued as a trade, they would wear it. So I incorporate this coin into my jewelry. But before I started, I always had a hard time in school. I couldn't read, I couldn't write that good or spell good, so I always drew. So when I first started doing my artwork, I would draw pictures. Then I became painter. So I learned about my Sioux part, making spirit horses. That's not Sioux though, but I just named it spirit horses. So kind of with the plain style designs here. So this is how I took care of my family when I was an early young father, is I painted horses. Then that's when I moved into jewelry after that. So this is a kind of a blend of a dream catcher and a spirit horse. Okay.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for coming here and showing us today. We're going to get ready for the next artist and take some pictures of these. So thank you, and thank you guys for watching. We're back with our next artist, Louise Goins.
Shio. I'm Louise Goins from the Birdtown community. I'm a third generation basket maker. Lydia Thompson Squirrel and Emma Squirrel Taylor. They're the 1 and 2 basket makers. I have lived in Birdtown just about all my life, so I'll begin with my childhood up on Goose Creek. And that's where my basket history starts. Okay, when I was a small girl, I used to go to the woods with my mom, so we learned a lot about the woods and stuff and how to select your white oak. And then you have many inspirations in your lives which makes you want to do things. So my first inspiration as a small girl was to have my own money. So I picked up scraps from her basket making on the floor, and I began to make cracker baskets for the co-op. So she would help me whenever I had difficulty rounding the corners and stuff. But my inspiration to make those baskets was so that I could have my own money, that when I went to the store to get a newspaper for my dad, I would have money to buy my own RC cola and a moon pie. So that was my first inspiration. So I began to weave baskets until I was about 13. And then I quit during my high school years. I had other things to do. So toward the end of my high school years, I married Butch. And he went to the service, and I stayed at home and took care of our son, Edward. So when he comes back, he moves us to Yellow Hill. And that was a big trauma-like thing. So every day I would walk to Birdtown. So that went on for a couple of months, and then I began to stay home. So after that, me and Butch began to take my mama on her white oak trips into the woods. So she taught him a lot, too, about the white oak selections and how to select river cane and all that. So then I began to make baskets, and then I had my second inspiration, and that was to be what my mother was. She was one of the best-known basket makers on the reservation. So during my time here making baskets, I've never got to go out of the country like she did. She got selected by the Arts Council of the United States to be the first Native American artist to go to Japan to exhibit her work to the high, I guess, I don't know what to call it, emperors or whatever of Japan. So I began to make baskets and enter competitions because I wanted to be like her. So as time went on, I got to go on many trips with her. So we went to D.C. several times, and then I went to D.C. one time myself as a participant and as a basket maker from all of the 50 states. So I represented North Carolina, me and Lucille Lossie. So then after that, then Tanya nominated us for the First Peoples Fund. So then I knew I was getting pretty close to what my mom was. So these are some of the baskets that I learned to make on my own. And this was the type of basket that she learned to make at the village. So this is orange from the bloodroot plant and brown from the walnut plant, and these are maple curls dyed with bloodroot. And it's a simple weave on the bottom. It's just the over and under, which is kind of like a checkerboard weave. And then the rim is put on. And this is the part that is my least favorite to do, is the rim. So as I got selected to be the teacher of the basket making for the elementary, I had to think of ways that the kids could learn real easy. So I began to make kits for them so that they could just put it together. So they learn how to put the bottom in and do the techniques of weaving and rimming. But we did the corner work for them because that's the hardest part of the basket to do. So this basket here is like a challenge basket. I learned this from patterns in a book that I bought. And I like to buy a lot of basket books so that I can learn new patterns. So on this one, you have to weave with the bottom down on the table. And then you have to make it look like a sunburst. So after it looks like a sunburst, then you turn it up right side up so that you're looking down on it. And then you begin to weave, and you got to pinch these corners together to make the legs that's on the bottom of it. So that's like a challenge basket. So I wanted to teach my granddaughter how to do one that was a step over. So I couldn't get the pattern right, so this was the first one I made, and this was the second one. So I went back and I looked, and then I went through the book and I was using the wrong pattern on the bottom. So I come back and then I made it. So she will be showing you that weave.
Great. Well, thank you for your time, Louise. And we're going to take a closer look while we get ready for our next artist.
All right.
If you are looking for the best handmade Cherokee clothing, please consider visiting Zozalagi in Cherokee, North Carolina. From historic clothing to contemporary clothing, we have what you need. Visit our location across from Harris Casino. We look forward to helping you find your next Cherokee clothing treasure.
Hello, welcome back. We have Angela Wolfe Grant with us. She's going to be showing us some of her artwork.
Hello, my name is Angela Wolfe Grant, and I'm a member of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. My first piece I have here is made out of wild horse and sterling silver, and I call it Flying Horse. And then my second piece is made a ring out of wampum, and it's also sterling silver, and it has a center seam in it. And then on the third piece that I have, on the dragonfly down at the bottom, I have wampum, and its eyes are made out of Newlander. And on the center flower, it has wampum, and that's Persian turquoise. Going up on both sides is the wampum and oriental turquoise. And the first flower on your left is made out of wampum and Kingman turquoise. And the top one is made out of wampum and lightning milk. And then over here for the cattails, it's made out of wild horse and sterling silver also. And I have sterling silver beads around the top.
Well, that's beautiful. How
Thank
long
you.
does it usually take you to make something like this?
Usually about 2 to 3 months.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you so much for showing us this artwork, and thank you guys for being here today with us. I really appreciate it. We're back with our next artist, Butch Goings.
My name is Butch Goings. I live in the Birdtown section with my wife, Louise. Originated from the Cherokee Yellow Hill community, but after we got married, then I moved to Birdtown where she lives. I started wood carving, I guess you would say, when I was real young. My dad used to make rhododendron whistles for me. He also carved little axe handles with the axe sticking out of the stump. He'd do them for me and everything. So I done a little carving before I started to school. Once I got into high school, I studied with Miss Amanda Crow. Me and Virgil Ledford was in the same class, and we always laid out of classes to go to wood carving. Some days we'd spend half a day with Amanda just sitting around talking and doing a little carving. And she'd always tell us, well, since you're older and you know how to use the bandsaw, what about cutting out some carvings for the younger boys? So I got pretty good with the bandsaw. So other than that, I started carving with her, and then after I got out of high school, went in the service and still done wood carvings. I guess I must have done wood carvings for several years there. And then everybody got into stone carving. So I thought I'd try my hand at stone carving. Other than that, I'd rather wood carve than stone carving because it takes a lot of time to finish up a product and everything. But the wood carvings I do, I use buckeye wood, butternut, walnut, wild cherry, cedar, and a few items out of holly. Holly is a pretty hard wood, so once it gets seasoned out, you got to have a sharp knife. The buckeye wood that I've got the river otter carved out of is pretty soft. You have to keep your knife edge pretty sharp because it will dull it in no time. I like to carve with the wild cherry or the walnut because you can get some real good detail with that hard wood. Other than that, I've tried a few things with the butternut, and I like the grains that it has on. Once you get finished and everything, you can really see the grain of the wood and all that. Other than that, some of the stone carvings I do is just a few pipes. I do a lot of turtles because everywhere I go, that's the first thing people ask. Do you have some turtles? And if I don't have none on my table, I always say, well, most of them crawled off. So other than that, on my pipes, I don't never glue the stem in because a lot of people say, well, once you use a pipe, there ain't no way of cleaning it out. So I don't never glue my stems in. I just let them decide if they want to have their stem glued in or they can take it apart and clean it out or whatever then.
Well, thank you for your time, Butch. We're going to take a closer look at some of your pieces while we get ready for the next artist.
Okay, thank you.
At Traditional Hands in Cherokee, seekers find authentic Native American culture and history reflected in handmade jewelry and art.
We connect to the old philosophy by using wampum, which we have been using for hundreds of years, and it still has the same impact today.
Get a piece that connects you to Cherokee roots, predating European arrival. Don't be afraid to invest in your interest, your love, and the Cherokee culture. Visit our location in Cherokee or go to traditionalhands.com.
We're back with our next artist, Lauren Goins.
Hello, my name is Lauren Goins. I live in the Birdtown community. I'm the 24-year-old daughter of George and Christina Goins. I come from a fourth generation of white oak basket makers. I started making baskets at the young age of 6 years old. My grandma Louise Goins taught me everything I know today. My baskets require a lot of preparation. I help cut the weavers to weave baskets. I also help my grandma wash and dry the white oak splits. The drying process, the dyeing splits are boiled in walnut and butternut bark for dark splits and bloodroot for orange shades. Weaving time comes after the splits have dried. I've never been to the woods to harvest an oak tree. I still have many things to learn. I also make miniature river cane mats. These require the same preparations as the oak. I have harvested river cane in Franklin, North Carolina.
And could you tell us about some of your pieces here on the table?
Yes. This one's what you would call a side bag. It's what you would just throw over your shoulder. You can basically, I guess, kind of call it like a mini purse. It could hold your phone or your wallet or your change. You could just use it for all kinds of different stuff. And my basket design is a tribute to Amanda Smoker for her, what people call would be a railroad track design. It's just really neat, I think, this design.
And what's the difference between this bag and that one?
This one right here, I think the difference in it is because this one's got handles on it. And you mostly see our Miss Cherokees using these type of baskets, whether it be river cane or white oak.
Where do you get the inspiration for your piece?
I get my inspiration from my grandma Louise, because she's just all around great person, and I still got a lot to learn from her.
And can you talk about your miniature mats up here?
Yeah. I started making them probably about 5 years ago. When I first started, my pieces wasn't really that great, but the more I came along learning them, the more I got better at making the mats. So, my mats have gotten smaller in sizes from my first beginning mats. I didn't think they were really too good like they are now. And it don't really take me long to put them together or put the designs in them. So, I think that's a fun thing to do, is putting them designs in them little mats.
And can you describe the ribbons on your basket there?
Yeah. This was basically my best of show from last year on these baskets. I really didn't think that I was going to be able to win first place and get best of show and beat my grandma Louise in it. But I did, and it made me feel really good that she was able to help me put these baskets together to make these, or get these right here.
Well, thank you for sharing with us, Lauren, and we're going to take a closer look at her pieces while we get ready for our next artist.
Welcome back. I'm Russ Siegel, and our next artist is Tara McCoy. How are you doing, Tara?
I'm good. How are you, Russ?
Good. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Shio Nagata, Taya Magayi Dagodo. Hello, my name is Tara McCoy. Taya in Cherokee language translates to cherry, and Magi is McCoy. I do pottery, finger weaving, beadwork, and my new thing is shell carving. I've been doing art all my life. In high school, I took art classes from 7th to 12th grade. So by the time I was in 10th grade, I was in advanced classes and was able to work alongside great artists. This is when I knew my art could make money. I would enter art shows and win, or I would sell my art at the end of the year. I really didn't get serious about my work until around 1999. I picked up pottery. Pottery was my least favorite in high school. Pottery seemed the least expensive way to go, whether you dig your own clay or you buy it. And you could fire your own pieces outside in a fire pit. There was a pottery guild in my community, and they offered classes to the people. So I took a couple of classes and been at it ever since. I became a member of the Koala Arts and Crafts around 2001. Koala Arts and Crafts was founded in 1946 and is one of the oldest Native American cooperatives in the nation. Some of the shows I've been accepted to is the Southwestern American Indian Art Show in Santa Fe, New Mexico, art shows in Tahlequah, Oklahoma, and just recently the Hard Rock Art Show in Oklahoma, which I didn't get to participate because of the COVID-19 virus, which has canceled everything around the world. I would first like to start to talk about two pieces. These two are different, but what makes them the same is the design. When I do clay, I refer to stories, or if I see designs, I try to make them 3D. And this design here has been found on gorgets that date back to thousands of years. For our culture, or in our culture, the birds are woodpeckers, and they are protectors or warriors. These lines right here
represent upper world, lower world, this world, and the spirit world. And the holes right here represent the directions north, south, east, and west. And these are where the cables hold the world up from the sky vault. This right here represents the fire. And for this particular piece, it is a lid for the pottery. And the next piece, this piece is made from the Welch shell. I'll call this the bird clan. In our culture, we have 7 clans. One of them is the bird clan. Birds are messengers. Right here, this eye right here is shaped as the woodpecker. And this eye right here is a star-shaped eye. And it's a special eye to see into beyond today. It sees beyond the past and the future. And this is the beak, and then the feathers are here at the top. I took a class with Dan Townsend back in 2017 and fell in love with shell carving. Dan does a lot of layering and designs in his shells. My next piece, this right here is finger weaving. And this is yarn. Normally you would see belts or sashes made from this material, and normally it wouldn't be so wide. But I wanted to make a table runner. And this is not done on a loom nor a machine. What I would do is I would get a wooden dowel and I would place my strings on the wooden dowel. And this piece has 166 strings, and the design is just a lightning design. This piece right here took me a year to finish. I work full-time and my art is my hobby. I hope to one day have my own studio and teach classes in the community. I believe in mentorship. It teaches quality craftsmanship and makes learning easier, quicker, and more fun.
So you say you like to put dimension in your art.
Yes.
And this shell carving has a lot of texture to it. How long did it take you to make that?
This shell right here took around 27 and a half hours. I wouldn't do it all at one time. As an artist, you have to, be in that creative mood. And so, I would just work on it maybe 3 or 4 hours every other day. And just took my time. Because I'm new at this, and so, I didn't really want to mess up. But, yeah. So.
That's amazing. So what sparks your creative mood? I know you do a lot of different types of art.
Yes.
You don't work in just one medium. So what does it take to get you sparked?
It seems like a lot of times I'm always in a mindset of thinking of designs and shapes and stuff. But, a lot of times it could be seasons, like in the wintertime, pottery. I could do a lot of pottery. Or if it's, in the wintertime it's cold outside, so finger weaving, anything that I can do inside. But outside, like this past summer, I done a lot of shell carving, and I have to sit outside with that. So a lot of times could be the season, and then just whatever notion I feel like doing.
So tell us about you say that you can fire your pottery outside. Tell us about that process from start to finish. Do you dig your own clay?
No, actually I haven't dug my own clay. I'm in the process of gathering up a couple people so that we can all go as a group and learn as a group. We did a little bit in high school, so I have a general idea. But I usually just buy my clay. And once I get the piece that I'm making, once I get it finished, I let it dry for about 7 to 10 days. And once it's hard or leather hard, then I would take a rock and I would dab it in water and shine the whole piece. And like this part right here, just to shine this piece was about 3 hours.
Wow.
And for me, I would do it all in one sitting, because if you shine just half of it one day and then go back and shine the next day, you'll have different levels of shine. I can see it. I don't know if anybody else can see it, but I can see it. And then when I get ready to fire the piece, I will preheat it in the oven for, a good 6 hours or so. And during that time, I would usually go out and get my firewood started. And you have to get some good coals a good pile of coals, and you would want to set the pot right around in a good temperature, and you want to try and keep the heat at the same level or as you would when you pull it from the oven into the fire. And then you just gradually build the heat. You would lay wood on it, and I would cover it up to keep that heat inside. And I'd burn my pots about 10 to 12 hours. They usually change color around 4 hours into the firing process, but I just like to make it more compact.
It's amazing work, amazing work. Thank you for being with us, Tara.
Thank you. Ski.
For nearly 75 years, Quala Arts and Crafts has served our community not only as a craft shop, but as an organization dedicated to the preservation and promotion of authentic Cherokee arts and crafts. As the oldest Native American cooperative in the United States, we strive to bring our visitors quality handmade wares. Quala Arts and Crafts thanks you for your years of patronage and invites you to visit us to purchase guaranteed, authentically created, handmade Cherokee arts and crafts.
We're back with our next artist, Edward Goings.
Well, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to do this. My name's George Edward Goings. I come from a very talented family. Both sides of my family. My father, he does wood carvings and pipestone carvings, which I learned growing up, the wood carving part of it. Then my mother's side, she does basket work, white oak, river cane, honeysuckle. I took up more of the white oak. I grew up with the white oak basket making, but I never had any interest in it until I guess I probably got out of the military in '85. Once I got out of the military, I come home. Mom and Dad, they used to do a lot of different small craft shows. I always helped Dad do carvings and helped him carve or sand the carvings. So once I came home, my mom, she said, this is a story. Do you want to learn how to really make some good money? She said, you put a lot of work into them wood carvings, but you don't hardly ever get the money that you put into it, working them up and everything. So from that time, I started learning how to do the white oak basket work, and that's been over 20-something years, maybe going on 30 since I got out of the military in '85, and that's where I learned how to do all the basket work and I'm a third generation basket maker, so I've done quite a bit of work since then.
Can you talk about some of the pieces
Okay.
here?
Starting off, I do what they call miniature white oak baskets, and then I do the regular or what you would call I guess I can't think of the name of what you would call it, but the big baskets that what most people see in the craft shops. This right here is what they call a waste paper. It's a square bottom waste paper basket, and A lot of times, most of the baskets today are made for what you would call, I guess, ornaments to show. Some people have what they call a basket display or some type of thing that they do. Then once I got to real good with making the bigger baskets, then I started going back and the scraps that I had off of the big baskets, I started scraping the scraps down, and I started making what we started calling miniature baskets. This here is what they would call a hand basket. It's got an interlocking handle in it, and it has what they call decorations on the basket, which comes from the maple split. These can be dyed brown or they can be dyed orange. Then we use a little bit of what you'd call commercial dyes. This right here is what is called a Christmas ornament. It is what we call a bell, and it hangs on your Christmas tree. We use the reds, the blues. And then this one right here, this is what we call a basket with a lid, it is also a waste paper. That lid sits on top of it.
Well, thank you for sharing with us. We're going to take a closer look at his pieces while we get ready for our next artist. We're back with our next artist, Judith Welch Smith.
Hello, my name is Judith Welch Smith. I'm a doll maker. I come from the Qualla boundary, and I'm of the Bird clan. Growing up, there were only 9 of us children, so we had to supplement the household income. By doing that, my mother made baskets, she made dolls, and she did beadwork. I picked up the dolls. My baby sister picked up the dolls, and the rest of us do a variety of arts and crafts. Today I've brought you 3 dolls. These are my little people dolls. They all have personalities, and they're individual. They like a drug-free atmosphere. Sometimes they like peace and quiet, but not all the time. Here I have Willow. She is the matriarch. She recently lost her mate, so she's looking for a new one. She wears our clan colors. Of the 7 clans, we all have colors. Ours are black, which is for our warriors, burgundy, our bloodline. In pink right here is our femininity, and white is for peace and unity. Willow has a daughter, and her daughter's name is Winona. She recently married. So she no longer wears the ribbons. The ribbons determine how wealthy you are. Once you catch that mate, you don't have to worry about it. You hope he has money. And this is her husband, or her mate, Spruce. He wears the feather, but he's not yet earned his eagle feather. They're dressed with cloth tops, medallions, and leather pucker toes. The ladies, they're kind of shy, so they have slips. They wear their slips, and they love decorations. They like shiny things. So if you have something disappear, and it doesn't show up for a few days, they probably wanted to keep it for a while. But they'll return it if you're good. But all in all, it's a time-consuming project. It takes 30 hours for 3. So you're looking at basically 10 hours a doll. And going from there, We go to the corn beads. People don't realize it takes 6 months for one necklace. You have to plant them, nurture them in the fields, and harvest them. And that's about 5 months. Then you have to let them ripen to where you can work with them. And so basically people need to know it takes 6 months for one necklace. And that's all, folks. You have a good day and be safe.
Thank you for your time, Judith.
Thank you.
And we'll take a closer look while we get ready for our next artist.
If your idea of a vacation destination is browsing the most exquisite Cherokee arts and crafts, we are your destination. For the past 30 years, Bear Meats Indian has offered local, handcrafted items, from wood and stone carvings to baskets and traditional pottery. For a cultural adventure, you will find us in the Wolfetown community on Soco Mountain. If you are unable to explore our exceptional supply of authentic items in person, you can visit us online at www.bearmeatsindianden.com.
Welcome back. Our next featured artist is Charlie Jumper. Charlie's brought some of his copper work. Charlie, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your work.
I'm a self-taught coppersmith and pyrography artist. I come across the coppersmithing at the village. I used to work up there. And Devin Cucumber and Marcus Bradley, they helped me out. And I have this is the double peace pipe design on a cuff. It's about 20 gauge copper. I have the field of crosses design. These are basket weaves. I started pushing them out in copper. They look pretty cool. It's 3D, so.
So what kind of tools would you use on something like that?
I started out with just using a screwdriver and a torch, and different hammers to get different textures. These are have a process called fire painted. It puts the colors in there, and it really pops when you shine it up real good. So it looks really cool.
Those are beautiful. How long would it take you to make something like this?
One of them cuffs takes a good hour.
And what makes this piece special?
It's a piece I found in a book of artifacts of designs that have been dug up around mounds. And I liked it a lot. It looks really, really good.
And what would you say is your best-selling items?
The earrings. The ladies love the earrings. They've got a lot of color in them, and they're shiny, and they're easy and fun to make. The teardrops are a good bestseller of mine.
So do you sell a lot of sets when people are buying? Do you find that they buy more than just one, more than just the earrings, or they buy complementary items?
Yes, they buy often make medallions and with the same design as earrings, and they usually go together. And a lot of them buy, if it's the same texture as on a pair of earrings or a bracelet, they tend to go in a good set. So.
And is this your full-time work? Do you do this exclusively?
I also do wood burning. It's also called pyrography, and I paint, work with a little bit of clay. But this is primary. I'm having a lot of fun with this, so it's pretty much my prime.
It's beautiful. Do you need something to get you inspired when you work, or how does that work for you?
If I see a design I haven't done, I like to try it out. This is one of my new ones. These are new designs I haven't done before. So it's, I love the basket design. So that if they look good on a basket, I figure I can make them like a 3D. So.
Well, we're definitely going to take a closer look at these. And we want to thank you for joining us at the market. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, guys.
Now I'm happy to introduce our next featured artist, Mary Thompson. Mary, how you doing?
I'm good today, thank you. How are you?
Great, great. So introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and your work.
All right, I appreciate that. I'm Mary Thompson. I come from a artistic family. We were blessed with a artistic gene, as were many of my family members. My mom's siblings, children, grandchildren. We all make pottery, basketry, paint, draw, and other forms of art. I am thankful for the generations before us for their ingenuity and their persistence. I've always been around baskets, and Mom, Sarah, Betty, and I learned how to make the river cane double weave baskets from Ramona and Lucille Lossie. It was a revitalization project by the Cherokee Preservation Foundation and the co-op. I eventually learned that river cane was one of the most traditional of all basketry. The oldest evidence dates back 10,000 years ago. A river cane woven fragment was found underneath a mastodon skeleton.
Wow.
14 feet below the surface in a salt marsh at Petite Assoun, Louisiana. It's now known as Avery Island, famous for its salt mine and Tabasco sauce. Today, river cane is scarce. It's losing its habitat due to development. See, river cane likes waterfront property too. We have to travel many miles to find and harvest river cane. It's a lot of effort, a lot of cuts, scrapes, bruises, but it's worth it. I love it. So here's some of our river cane baskets. This one's a double weave. And we have a single weave purse basket. It's got a shoulder strap. It has the old style rim on it. And it's a design that my mother copied from my mom. Around 1800, Cherokees started losing land in villages along the river. As the Cherokees settled homesteads in the mountains or Oklahoma, we started using what resources were available. Here, white oak was abundant. So the more I do, the more I learn, the more intrigued I am with our history, our traditions, and our culture. This is a white oak basket. It's woven in a river cane style, the same design that I used with my mom. It's got the old style rim around the top, which I learned from Carol Welch, and I used wandu, the inner bark of the hickory, to rim it with. I have some white oak fish baskets, miniatures. Utilitarian uses started to decrease with the introduction of the Blue Ridge Parkway, the railroad, and tourism, and that was around 1939. Today, an easy resource is store-bought material. Reed. This is a reed basket. Without the physical labor and the time to prepare weaving materials, baskets are less expensive. The Cherokees have always adapted with time and social changes. I use native dyes on all of my basketry. This one was done by my grandson. Okay, pottery. We use Lysella clay, kiln fired at about 1800 degrees, and pit fired 4, 5, 6, 7 times to get the color, the dark colors on here. I have an urn. It's a small one, has a lid on it. This one's probably been fired about 5 times. We have water jugs, which had traditional use in the 1800s. Have a lot of, I call them trinket bowls, in different sizes, with a design on the inside and stamped on the outside. So we have small, medium, and large trinket bowls. We have the longest continuing pottery tradition in our original homeland of any tribe in the U.S. for at least 3,000 years in the southern Appalachians using local clays. I was once told that Josiah, representing John Wedgwood, was among a group of people traveling through the tribal villages in the early 1800s in the North Georgia area. He recognized the quality of clay and the pottery that the Cherokee were making. He struck a deal with the tribe to get the clay, and he attempted to ship it back to England but it was too expensive. I like our myths and legends. Maylie and the mud dauber, a wasp, making a mud house that was not affected by fire or water. We do shell carving. We've done several classes with Dan Townsend instructing. Betty, Victoria, and I are still carving. 1800s clothing and accessories. My sister, daughter, grandson, and granddaughter have participated in the Kananesgi fashion show. We have our own fabric designs, which we have used in clothing and actually in furniture. We have made feather capes, woven skirts, bags, have pucker toe moccasins, and the shell and the pottery gorgets. We make the moccasins in different sizes, from adult size. We do the beadwork sometimes on the side, or you can purchase some simple ones and do your own customizing. We even put soles on the bottom and on the inside. And our gorgets, pottery or shell, but we've been playing around with these for a little bit too to go with the traditional clothing. Now with beadwork, painting, and drawings, mostly Betty and Tori, my sister and my daughter. I've not done anything in years. We do encourage our kids to create. I guess I better wash their hands in the dew of the spider web. If you would like to contact me or see anything that we have in stock in the workshop up in the Big Cove community, you can contact me by email and make an appointment. We did have classes there prior to COVID. We had pottery classes. We did the stamped carving stamped paddle pottery classes. We've done pucker toe classes. We really want to get into doing some basketry classes and some beadwork classes, or whatever the participants may want. My email address is marywelchthompson@outlook.com, and that's the best way to get a hold of me. Uli Haley Stee, Jisa. Happy birthday, Jesus, and Merry Christmas.
Mary, you brought some beautiful work, and we definitely want to take a closer look at this. Thank you for being with us today.
I appreciate it. I thank you and what you all are doing for the artisans of the community.
Shio Uwodahi, hello beautiful. We cannot wait to welcome you to Indigenous Boutique and Spa. We are a native, women-owned business located in the Great Smoky Centers of Sanuk's Village. We feature a variety of skincare and personal care services, including facials, brow shaping, henna, and tinting. Our boutique features a number of inspired Indigenous products and high-quality apparel, bath and body accessories, soaps, lotions, serums, and scents. Visit us online at indigenousboutiquespa.com to shop our online store or to book your appointment. Or give us a call at 828-788-6687.
Welcome back. I'm Russ Siegel, and I'm pleased to introduce our next featured artist, Sharon McCoy. How you doing, Sharon?
I'm good. How about you?
Doing well, doing well. Tell us a little bit about you and about your art.
I do beadwork. That's my favorite. I do a few other things, but mostly it's beadwork. And I have done that for a long time. My mom taught me when I was pretty young, but at the time, the Cherokees was still in effect, or still around, and it was a factory, and they had people that did what they called homework. But they also bought beadwork, daisy chains, bracelets, and rings. So that's what I learned to make.
Okay. So you brought a lot of pieces with you, but you have a few that you want to talk about specifically. Tell us about these pieces.
Okay, now the hairbrets, I'm thinking that curiosity got the best of me one time, many, many years ago, and I thought, let me try this to see if it'll work. So thus started my hairbret making. And then I had a friend. She taught me, she didn't really teach me, but she walked me through doing medallions. And that led to doing the bolo ties. One of my more famous bolos that nobody knows that I did. The first President Bush, he was vice president at the time, had one of my bolos.
Really?
Yes. Very, very few people know that.
Wow. So how long would it take you to make one of those?
It takes me roughly 2 days now.
Okay.
But
is there any significance in the designs that you'd like to talk about?
Not really. Sometimes I'll start out with one design, and as I'm working, I'll think, let me do this. So I'll just change. There's just no rhyme or reason. I just do whatever feels comfortable.
Just wherever the spirit moves you. So
yes.
Where do you get your inspiration for your work?
Pinterest.
Pinterest, okay. So you learned this a long time ago?
Yes.
I'm sure that you have taught others how to do this.
A few people.
Few, yeah.
The one I'm most proud of is my grandson, because he was like about 5. And I still have the one piece that he had started. And I'm not going to talk about it because it's very, very sentimental. But I do have it put up.
That is wonderful. Well, these are some beautiful pieces. I see you have some crosses here, and you have some other medallions. Do you do your own cord work, or do you buy that and build off of that?
No, I buy these already. They're already made.
Okay.
And
but 2 days, that's a long time to take, which just, I think, speaks to how special these pieces are.
Yes.
That these are not mass-produced.
No, they're not.
These are well-designed, made by you, and put a lot of care and love into these.
Yes,
you can tell.
And all of my pieces, I try to use leather on the back, even to the hairbrets.
Okay. Well, Sharon, thank you for bringing these beautiful pieces to the market.
You're quite welcome.
And we're definitely going to take a closer look at these now, and we want to thank you for coming.
Sure.
Welcome back. I'm Russ Siegel, and I want to welcome our next featured artist, Betty Maney. Betty, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Russ. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. Tell us a little bit about you and about some of the art pieces you brought today.
Okay, my name is Betty Maney. I'm an enrolled member of the Eastern Band of Cherokees, and I live in the Big Cove community in Cherokee, North Carolina. I am a Cherokee cultural artist and crafter. One of my main focuses is on Cherokee basket weaving styles, materials, and techniques. I have also ventured into using reed, a natural material which is the inner fibers of the rattan. Bloodroot, butternut, and walnuts are natural dyes that are found locally and used to get color in the basket materials. I hand-build pottery with an emphasis on Cherokee traditional stamp pottery, beadwork, and cloth dolls, dressing them in period-style clothing from the 1800s. I am also self-taught in beadworking. I'm probably better known for my miniature white oak baskets, which I learned from my mother, Geraldine Walkingstick. As children, my mother would always have us with her. So through the entire process of taking an axe and chopping down the white oak tree to a finished woven basket, we were unknowingly absorbing everything she did. It was not until many years later as a young adult that I had a desire to try my hand at basket weaving. At the time, Mom had already had some materials prepared. I asked her for some and she gave them to me. So with all that knowledge I had gained as a child, with her just came back to me because I already knew the entire process from the beginning to a finished piece from watching her all those years. From that point, I began reacquainting myself with the techniques of the entire process of choosing, cutting, and preparing materials for basket weaving. Many years as my mom's hands became arthritic, it was painful for her to execute the detailed work in her weaving. She said to me one day, "You need to start weaving these miniature replicas of the larger baskets." And I did. Once I had perfected the skills for weaving the miniatures, I wove a set of 3 and entered them in the Cherokee Fair competition. And to my surprise, I took first place. So I am known for my miniature replicas. Now my goal is to keep these historic techniques of Cherokee basket weaving alive by teaching them to other members of the Cherokee, as well as providing information to the public. Okay.
So is basket weaving, would you say, your favorite medium to work in?
Yes, it is my favorite medium to work in, and I think second is beadworking.
You do a beautiful job, and I want to talk to you about the miniature baskets. You know, a lot of times people think the smaller baskets should be less expensive because they're smaller, but they're actually harder to produce, right?
Oh yes, they are harder to produce. That's why my mom's, when her hands got really bad, it's hard. Of course, we have thick fingers anyway, so it is a little difficult to take our fingers and get down into the detail part of the weaving and manipulating the splints to get them to do what we want them to do. I have in my hand a doll cradle, and it's complete up to the point where I'm weaving the hood, and I'm holding the strip that I'm using to weave with. So with just this little bit, maybe a ½ inch of weaving, it'll be complete. So, and
it's beautiful. It's
Thank
beautiful.
you.
And I know that your jewelry is also very popular. Tell us about those earrings.
Okay, these earrings, it's anytime there's beading, different techniques. Well, this is the brick stitch. It's a technique that I've always known, but to do different styles, I get inspiration from other beaders, in different shapes and sizes. But it's always been my personal policy to myself to never exactly duplicate another artist's work. So what I do is take that technique and that shape, and I will make it my own. And with this one, the earring, I call it a double diamond, and I use the fire colors, but then also the technique also allows me to do a double side. So you're basically getting 2 pairs of earrings in one.
And the necklace complements your earrings quite nicely.
Well, thank you. But it is a different background and it is a different technique. A contemporary friend of mine taught me this. Her name is Rita Al, and I would take beading classes from her, and that's where I got a lot of inspiration. This one is called St. Petersburg stitch. And again, I would take it and just use the colors that I'm known for.
Beautiful work, Betty. Thank you so much for sharing it with us today. We're going to take a closer look at this, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
If you are looking for the best handmade Cherokee clothing, please consider visiting Zozalagi in Cherokee, North Carolina. From historic clothing to contemporary clothing, we have what you need. Visit our location across from Harris Casino. We look forward to helping you find your next Cherokee clothing treasure.
Thank you again for joining us. I'm Russ Siegel, and our next featured artist is Lori Reed. How you doing, Lori?
I'm good.
Good. So tell us a little bit about yourself and about your art.
Okay. My name's Lori Reed. I'm from the Wolfetown community. I do a lot of the different types of Cherokee arts and crafts. I also do paintings, drawings. I went to school for art for college. I got my Associate of Fine Arts degree from the Institute of American Indian Arts. And I double majored over there, so I kind of did a little bit of like 3-dimensional work, like jewelry making. And I also did a lot of the drawing and a little bit of painting. I was kind of scared of paints at first because I never really used paint. So I focused a lot on the drawing for 2-dimensional. And I also did some sculpture classes, which I really enjoyed doing. And then I transferred over to the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, where I got my Bachelor of Fine Arts. And there I just focused on 2-dimensional arts. I learned how to do like lithography, watercolor. Watercolor is like one of my favorite things to do. But not having the space or a place to store it or whatever, I can't really do a lot of watercolor. And then I went to Western Carolina University to get my art education, teaching license. So I work at the Cherokee High School teaching arts and crafts. So this is pretty much what I teach, plus beadwork.
Okay. Well, for somebody who was scared of painting, you got really good at it, and we're going to talk about one of those in a few moments. We're going to show everybody one of your paintings, but let's talk first about your pottery.
Okay.
Tell us about that piece.
All right. Well, this one is just a small piece of pottery. It's the Lizella clay that you get from Georgia, and this is kiln fired. I just fired it at the school. If it was traditional fired, it would have more of the color on it, but I just used the kiln. Because it takes a lot of wood, a lot of time to burn these outside. And the little designs that I put on here, this is one that I was showing the kids like how to put designs on their pots with just things that they had at home, like if they didn't have access to paddles or anything. And so the little circles on here that I have were just a glue stick, like the bottom of the glue stick, and I would just put in my designs and show them how to
kind of come up with a design by repeating those shapes. And then I used just a slip from another type of clay. It's like a whitish looking clay. So I just kind of ground that up, add water to it, make a slip out of it, and then just kind of put that inside the little designs in there. So just showing the kids how to decorate their pottery.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and then just playing with the shape of it. Like I have them to do like a pinch pot, just a basic shape, and then I show them how to do a coil. So I always have them to add at least one coil to their pot. So this is a coil pot. So it's got one coil added to it.
Okay.
But yeah, I like doing the pottery.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. And we have a white oak basket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a white oak basket. I didn't really like working with baskets when I first started. Just my grandma used to do baskets when we were kids, and on Saturdays we'd go down to the church, and her and the other old ladies would do baskets, and they would have some of us kids come in there and work on baskets. And a lot of times she'd make us sit there and make a basket before we could go out and play. And so I was just always like, I want to go play. I don't want to make a basket. But I learned like the basics then. And then I just kind of stayed away from it for a long time. But then once I started working at the high school, I had to, do these because I had to teach it. But I did take classes with Betty Maney. I took a class with her with white oak, and she showed us how to like bust up your splints and then or the wood into the sections, and then how to break them down into splints and then to scrape them up. And so she had us making our baskets pretty much like showed us how to make it from scratch. The only thing we didn't do was to go out and actually gather our wood because she already had it there. And then she showed us how to dye them. This is dyed with black walnut. And the patterns, I just kind of play around with them. And my grandma used to use the cross in her baskets a lot. So a lot of times I like to incorporate those in there. And this is a drop handle, so it's got the drop handles on it.
Beautiful.
And I'm still working on getting better at them, but I do enjoy working with them now.
And not just white oak, but you have some river cane.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that piece.
All right, now the river cane, I took another class, like when they have classes at the co-op or the museum, and like when I used to see them, I would go sign up for classes. And the river cane class was with Ramona Lossy and her sister Lucille Lossy. And so I took that class, and of course they got all the river cane, and we had to learn how to bust it up, how to peel it and everything, get it ready, and how to dye it. And then they taught us how to weave them. And I really enjoyed it. It was really hard, like when I first started, but once I got going, I really, really enjoyed working with these because it's kind of like puzzles, like putting a puzzle together. And once you understand how they go, it's really neat and fun. So I really enjoy putting the patterns in there. Sometimes they get kind of complicated, but after a while you kind of get the rhythm of them and it goes a little bit easier.
And tell us really quickly about your finger weave work here.
All right, so this is my finger weaving. This is just acrylic yarn. This is the chevron design, and it's a double weave. I learned how to do this when I was in high school, and then I didn't. If you don't do it all the time, you kind of forget. And so when I went to the Institute of American Indian Arts out there, I took a textiles class, and I relearned how to do the finger weaving out there from a little Navajo lady. And then when I came home, I worked at the village for a little while, and so I learned a whole lot more up there. And there was a lady that worked up there, Tony Talquett. She helped me a lot. I learned a whole lot from her.
That's a beautiful piece. Yeah. Our time is short, but we have one more piece that we want to put up here to show everybody. It's one of your paintings. Tell us about this one.
Okay. This one is the Eagle Dancer. And I really like working with watercolor. And so when I work with my acrylic, this is all acrylic, but when I work with my acrylic, I always try to make it like thinner, kind of like watercolor. So I like to play with it because the biggest thing that I like about watercolor is that it's always a surprise whenever, after it dries. Like you can make watercolor how you think it's going to look, but when it dries, it's just totally different. And so when I work with acrylic, I'll play around with a lot of the fluid in it, putting a lot of water to it, and then just moving my colors around. And I always start like with an abstract background, and then I decide what kind of design I'm going to put on it. And recently I've just started using the Southeastern designs, and so they're mostly just black and white outlines, and then I just go in and put some color in there, but they're really fun.
Well, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Thank you for bringing these pieces. We're going to give you a closer look at these, and we want to thank Lori for bringing all these out. Thank you for participating in the art market.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Our next featured artist is Gabe Crow. Gabe's brought some of his basket work. Welcome, Gabe.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. So tell us a little bit about your work. Tell us a little bit about your background and what got you started in basket weaving.
Okay. So a lot of my work that you see right here, I preferably try to do more of the river cane than the white oak. Even though the white oak is something I learned first on. I have a mat right here. I have a single weave. And then I have another white oak single weave right here with a handle in it. I learned how to do this working at the Okunlifty Indian Village. I started up there in the Mentee program when I was 15 or 16. I started there my freshman year of high school. And I actually didn't honestly try to learn baskets at all. It was kind of just something I fell into doing when I went up there. We were allowed to choose 4 crafts to do, and that just ended up being one of the 4th ones I decided to do. And it was something I fell in love with and been doing it since.
What do you enjoy the most about it?
Honestly, it's just something at the end of the day I can sit and do, and it's kind of a relaxing thing for me. And it's something that no matter how good the day is, bad day is, whatever day, I can usually go home, sit down, scrape some fence, get some stuff worked out. And at the same time, I'm getting some progress made, even though I don't feel like I'm getting anything done. It's kind of just something that it's something to look forward to at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, depending on when I do it.
Yeah, okay. So tell us first about this mat that you have right here on the left there.
Yeah, so this one is actually a Jim Long pattern. He created this one a couple years back. It's something that I actually really fell in love with when I was first learning how to do these designs. It was something just about how it was laid out that I wanted to figure out how to do. So when I first started learning cane patterns, that was one of the first things I wanted to learn how to do was the spider. So I got good at doing the basic stuff first before I could do something like this. But like I said, this is out of that river cane material. It has the walnut, a little bit of the butternut, and that's what that black is that you see right there. The bloodroot, which is the orange, and then just the natural green cane right through here. It's laced with sinew. Back then, we'd lace it with hickory bark. But today we use sinew just because hickory bark's kind of getting a hard thing to find.
Ah, I see. That's beautiful, beautiful work. So tell us about the river cane basket here in the middle.
This one has a fairly common pattern itself. It's actually mountain peaks. But this one's dyed with butternut, but I didn't dye it as long to get it jet black. I dyed it to be more of like a really dark brown. But this one's kind of like my own idea with it because I had the different colors of orange that you see right here. To me, this one kind of resembled the Eternal Flame story that we have with that. And that's, to me, is what it looked like. And that's the best way you could put it into a graph and make it work into this pattern. This actually took me just about a day to weave. but getting the pattern and getting the dyes to do it took me about 2 months.
Wow.
A lot of this stuff, you can get it done in about a day, a couple of hours, but you're looking at about 2, 3 months, 6 months of prep work just to sit down and weave. I
Yeah.
always look at it as like 85% work, 15% pleasure.
That's a good way to look at it. And it shows you that all of the work is not just sitting down and assembling the basket.
Mhm.
There's a lot more to it than that. And then finally, we have a white oak basket right here
Mhm.
on the right. Tell us about that one.
Well, this is one of the more simpler ones when you get down to it, because white oak is one thing that we never really did the patterns out of. It was always considered a flat splint basket almost. Because if you see right here, the grains in it and everything, we didn't start putting cane patterns into them until about 10, 20 years ago. Traditionally, they'd be done like this. As you can tell, it's a lot different from this right here. The easiest way you could tell a white oak basket apart is, of course, the colorations, the splints and the grains. But you can look on the inside, there's 2 rims right there. Has one rim on the outside, one rim on the inside. As opposed to the cane, it just has one rim on the inside, one rim on the, or no rim on the outside, one rim on the outside, no rim on the inside. Now with this, it has another hickory. Yeah, this is a hickory handle that I put on that. Carved that one out myself. I'm not much of a handle carver. This one's dyed with bloodroot, as you can tell with the orange right there, and the orange that you see on this side right here. And this is dyed with some walnut that I got from, I believe I got this up in Big Cove. Where you get your dyes really depends on how the basket's going to come out. Because if you look at them, they don't all have that same coloration in them. They all have different colorations in them. So what that means is if I go in the springtime and gather my dyes, I'm going to get a whole different coloration than I'm going to get if I go in the fall time. I could go to Birdtown right down here and get bloodroot, and it's going to be jet red, or looking really, really red. Go to Big Cove, it'll look orange, really orange like you see on this one right here.
Wow.
It just all depends on where you get it and the soil formation and how all that works.
Interesting story. Interesting. Gabe, we also see that we've got one in progress right here. I know that people are going to be excited to see these products and be able to buy these in the art market. We want to thank you for bringing these beautiful pieces today, and we want to thank you for joining us at the Kananesgi Art Market.
At Traditional Hands in Cherokee, seekers find authentic Native American culture and history reflected in handmade jewelry and art.
We connect to the old philosophy by using wampum, which we have been using for hundreds of years, and it still has the same impact today.
Get a piece that connects you to Cherokee roots, predating European arrival. Don't be afraid to invest in your interest, your love, and the Cherokee culture. Visit our location in Cherokee or go to traditionalhands.com.
Welcome back. I'm with our final artist of the Kananesgi Art Market, Bear Allison. Hey, Bear, welcome.
Hey, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about you and your art.
All right. Well, I'm Bear Allison, and I'm a photographer and filmmaker. I own a production company where I produce mostly commercial videos and photography. Although I have been practicing my photography since I was young, I've only been doing it professionally for about 9 years. After starting my production company and having free time in between professional shoots and needing some type of artistic outlet for myself, I started doing photography and personal projects, which became the norm. In 2012, I started a photographic series titled Booger Portraits. And when I first started the series, I had no intentions of sharing the images and definitely never thought of selling them. And for those that might not know, a booger is a masked being that can represent an individual person, a group of people, an animal, a sickness, or a spirit. The masks are used for storytelling, medicine, and in dances. When I use the mask for the portraits, it is medicine for me, and therefore the images are intended to be good medicine for the viewer. Even though most of my booger images can look dark and ominous, the energy behind them is positive. And I have a few to show you. And this first one is titled Lost on the Trail. And it's just a long booger, stranded, silhouette in the fog on the Trail of Tears, looking for someone. And I happened to get this image. I didn't plan on shooting this image that day. I'd actually gone to get a different image, but the conditions were right whenever I got there for this image, so I took it.
And that's on canvas too.
Yeah,
right?
this is on canvas. It's 36 by 24 inches, and it's got a canvas wrap, professionally wrapped, and then it's got the hanger on the back for
ready to go on the wall.
That, yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So it's a photograph, but it's got a kind of a painting feel to it.
Yes. And then this next one is another large one. It's another 24 by 36. And this one is titled Booger's Courthouse. And I took it at the Devil's Courthouse on the Blue Ridge Parkway in North Carolina. And yeah, we've got the medicine booger up here looking out, trying to find out where what happened to Judicola, because that was the last known place where Judicola was. The slant-eyed giant, as they called him.
And what is this imprinted on?
This one's printed on metal. It's on aluminum, and it has a glossy coating to it, so it reflects the light and it pops real bright. I've heard people talk about how it's hanging on their walls at night in houses, and they got the lamps on, and it looks like it glows. So.
Yeah, that's not a substrate you see every day. So
it's got a nice hanger and stuff on it too. So.
Great.
And then I also have some smaller images, and I have some landscapes for those that don't have not very fond of the boogers. And these are 9 by 12 inches. I think that's right. But this is I titled it Magic Lake, and it's the fog in the valley in the mountains at sunrise. And for those that know the story of Magic Lake, that's supposed to be the representation of it, and it's what I got out of it from the James Mooney's book, how to get it, where it comes from.
Okay.
And then I have this landscape, which is Mingo Falls in the fall time.
That's beautiful, and that almost doesn't even look real. It's so clear. There's so much detail, even the leaves in the background.
Right. And that one itself is actually printed on metallic paper, so it has a similar shine as this booger image does.
Okay.
And then I, of course, have smaller images of the booger stuff. And so.
That's beautiful. So when you go to find a shot like this, obviously you're looking for the right light, you're looking for the right conditions. How long would it take you to kind of wait for those things to occur? On the booger silhouette and things like that.
Well, like I said, with the silhouette, the Lost on the Trail image, I hadn't done anything. I had actually gone to get the shot of Magic Lake, but the fog was actually at the mountaintop, so that's why it has that ethereal feel to it. So that one was spontaneous. But like going for Magic Lake, I had gone 2 weeks straight, every day before sunrise, up to Clayman's Dome. And finally the conditions were right for that. And Booger's Courthouse, I scouted it and knew the type of shot I wanted for it, and I waited for sunset and went out there and did that. So that was like maybe, I would say 2-3 months in planning for that. And but like over the years and all my training and all my practicing, it's like, like they say, it takes 10,000 hours to be proficient at something or to master something. But, I don't consider myself a master photographer, but I do have a lot of experience, and I know what I need to set the camera at to get the image I want.
Well, I appreciate you explaining all that. We've looked at a lot of baskets. We've looked at beadwork. We've looked at carving and pottery, and people kind of get a sense of how long it might take to create one of those. But they see an image like this, and they think, oh, he just took his camera out and he took a picture.
Right. It literally takes a split second to take the picture. But leading up to that, to know what I need to do and the planning and having the mask and having the location and having the weather be the way it needs to be, it takes a long time.
Yeah. Well, Bear, thank you for bringing your art. Thank you for spending all those months and weeks out there picking that perfect spot and that perfect shot. Folks, we want to thank you for watching the art market, for viewing, for sticking with us, and for purchasing these pieces of art. We've had a great time producing this, and we hope you've had a great time watching. Thank you.
That concludes the 2020 Kananesgi Virtual Art Market. We appreciate you spending some time with us and our talented artists that are featured in the show.
We would like to thank all the artists that participated, the wonderful interviewers, the Cherokee Preservation Foundation, the North Carolina Arts Council, and the Jackson County Art Council, Sequoia Fund, Authentically Cherokee, Ray Kinston Leadership Institute, Raven's Eye Media, the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians Communication Team, and the local businesses featured in the commercials that support our tribal artists.
Be sure to go to our website to see the artwork. We also have other items for sale, including Kananesgi stickers, aprons, and reusable bags. Check us out at kananesgi.com. Shki, thank you.